vintage road racing, we shake hands, we hug each other. It's not like blood. So I give him enough room to get through there. And as I do that, I put my left front tire off the edge of the track. Put my left front tire off the edge of the track, and it turns out there's a little hole right there, which launches the front end of my car into the air. And I now have no directional control, and the car starts to rotate.
Oh.
So the car rotates, and there's a fence, there's a wall to my left. Okay. The call wrote, Bob, your face is just classic, your look. Thank you. I appreciate your pain.
Hey, everybody. Welcome once again back to another Two Tired Guys production Zoom studio event. It's a brand new Talking About Cars episode where everybody has a car story. I am Randy Cardoon, yes indeed, along with the one, the only, you got him right there, Hot Rod Bob Beck. Hello, Bob.
Hello there.
This week we got a little more close to home in a way with a car peep who enjoys getting out on the road and behind the wheel in vintage racing events around the Western U.S. An avid fan of racing, and find out exactly how he got there. I know he's been a car nerd most of his life. He owns a Shelby Mustang and what's left of a TVR. By the way, behind me, TVR right there. Yeah. What's left of that car is what he used to drive. And we will explain that in a few. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to talk about that in just a minute. So there is a big story there. So joining us, let's bring him on in the Talking About Cars studio here from Spirit Lake, Idaho, where he happened to be in the neighborhood. So he came by and had breakfast. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Hal Monheim joining us on the podcast. I always say at the beginning of each show, everybody has a car story, and Hal kind of represents one of the everybody. He's not a celebrity. He doesn't sing. I don't know, in the shower maybe.
Nobody wants to hear me.
Nobody wants to hear it.
Nobody, yeah, okay.
He's basically a guy who had a business. He lived in Palmdale for a while, lived in the San Fernando Valley for a while, and of course, along those lines, hung out with people that were into cars, and little by little became a wheel racing hobbyist. Where was the first place you really raced? What kind of racing did you do?
Well, the first track I was ever on would have been a drag strip, and that was in high school. And it was literally 2 weeks before San Fernando Raceway closed. I had just turned 16 a couple months prior, and San Fernando closed, and we were out there right before it closed. And so we ran our cars out there one Friday night, and for a couple Friday nights. And then that was it until I was many years older.
Wow. So you did drag race, or did you do mostly under the hood kind of stuff?
Mostly under the hood stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get behind the wheel?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Always.
Okay.
Always behind the wheel.
Very good.
That's the fun part.
So San Fernando Valley, you head over Cruz Van Nuys Boulevard.
Cruised Van Nuys Boulevard regularly. In high school, I had a 67 Mustang Fastback. It was a GT390, so I had a big block car and a 4-speed. So I was definitely trouble, at least getting into trouble in high school.
So how did you come across that Mustang?
Actually, it got bought at Hanson Chevrolet in Santa Monica as a used car.
Oh, so it was just a used car lot?
It was sitting in a used car lot, GT390 Mustang.
Oh my.
They were, come on, muscle cars sat on used car lots in those days all the time. This was 1970.
True.
They were just daily drivers with big motors.
It was a 3-year-old. It was a 3-year-old car, and it was $1,100.
Oh,
and I had saved a bunch of money, and I had $700, and my father co-signed a loan for me at 16 years of age. It was really in his name, but I got to sign the papers at the Bank of America, and my car payments were $40.30 a month.
Yeah. So I ended up buying a 68 Chevy Malibu, which was still a nice car. And I ended up paying, and then the prospect of actually making payments on it. So he co-signed for me, wouldn't co-sign on the Mustang. And it was, you were talking $40. I think mine was $30 a month. $30 a month and change. And it seems so ridiculous nowadays based on what kids and everybody else is paying for cars, but they would actually bother to mess around with something where you pay $30 a month to get your car. But that was considered very important for your credit and everything else. So it was a big deal at the time.
Well, you're like, I didn't have anyone to co-sign for me, so I went to buy a car on payments, and it was a $1,200 Nova, and they wouldn't finance me, and I got really upset about it. I said, you know what, it's like you, $30 a month is what it was going to be,
Mhm.
and I had to go to the bank for something, and I was relaying the story to the teller, and they said, well, why don't you get a Bank Americard? We can give you a student Bank Americard. It's got a
Yeah,
$100 limit, and
I
you
had
now
one of
have a
those.
I
credit
had one
rating.
of those. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm getting credit cards in the mail, and I had excellent credit. A short time out of college, I moved up to Lancaster area, and I bought my first house
On a
without
credit
any
card?
money in the bank. No, yes,
Oh,
the
what?
down payment was on my credit card. At that point in time, I got a Mastercard, and it
Yeah.
had a $2,000 limit, and they needed $1,200 for the down payment. The house was $20,000.
What year was this, Bob?
1974.
Okay.
Holy cow.
So I used the credit card for the down payment. Actually, what they did is at that time, credit cards weren't widely accepted everywhere. So
Right.
Security Pacific Bank would send you checks, and the
Right.
check could be used go to the credit card. So I wrote the check on the Security Pacific Bank check that goes to my credit card
They
for the
still
down
do that
payment.
in a sense now. I
Yeah.
think you can actually take your,
Yeah.
when you get your bill every month, I think they have something that looks like checks you can write for money or
Yeah,
cash.
so it was, it's like one of those things. I moved into a house without any money out of pocket,
And
and
just
it,
on your credit card.
on the
Folks,
credit card.
think about the housing situation now. Think about
Yeah,
how expensive it is to get into a house. And the fact that in 1974, what are we talking, 50 years ago, 60 years ago?
yeah, 50 years ago. Yeah,
I,
yeah,
you know, we could, I remember when I could actually write a check for a down payment on my house,
yeah.
But it changed right after that. It wasn't because in 1979, I bought my first home
Mhm.
and I had to have $20,000 down for $100,000 home.
Right.
Oh, I only paid 20,000 for the house.
I understand. I purchased my home in Woodland Hills. And it was just a little 3 bedroom, 2 bath, but it was by 1979, that was already $100,000.
Yeah, that's yeah. I remember those days. I parlayed that into a house, and I moved to Dallas,
I'm
and
sorry. No.
Yeah, on behalf of,
yeah, that was an experience. Let me tell you.
let's
Yeah.
talk
So
a
you
little bit.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, let's talk about the TVR. How did you
Yeah.
acquire it? How did you come across it?
I I wanted to buy a vintage race car. And I was on a budget like most people, I don't have unlimited funds. And I wanted to buy something that was interesting and different. And here's kind of how it works in vintage racing. It's going on all over the country, but there's certain events that are hard to get into because they're either prestigious or everybody wants to get into them or whatever. There's the Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion, the event that's held every year at the same time as the Pebble Beach Concours de Elegance, all the auctions up there. But so I wanted to buy something that would get me into some of those types of events. So that meant I had to buy either a famous race car, not in my budget, a
Yeah.
car that was raced by a famous race driver, not in my budget. So then it was to find something that was unique enough that I would be the only one that was applying with that type of car. Because I have a Shelby and I didn't ever really consider racing it, but friends would tell me that they would apply for these events with their Shelbys and they would rarely get in. And it was because, of course, there was so many Shelbys. So I bought this TVR from a dealer in Florida and had it shipped out here. And I'd actually tried to buy it the week before from the private party, but the dealer got it instead. So then I had to pay a little bit more to buy it. And it wasn't an expensive car. I think I paid $14,000 or $15,000 for it when I first bought it.
Okay.
And it needed quite a bit of mechanical work. It was already been converted to a race car and having some fun with it. And then I applied to the Rolex Monterey Motorsports reunion. And all my friends told me, don't worry, you won't get in the first time. You have to apply. It'll take you a little while to get in. So I applied and my car was accepted. I was invited to run in Le Mans, to run at Le Mans for the 100th anniversary celebration.
Ooh.
And I was unable to run it because I had personal responsibilities I needed to take care of with one of my children. But I've really gotten a lot of fun out of the car. And the one thing that's consistent about the car is everybody loves it. It's really well liked because it's such a cool little car.
Yeah, they're very unique.
And then they had an MG engine block in it, but a company called HRG Darrington produced an aftermarket cylinder head for MG motors that turned it into where the carburetors and the exhaust system were on the same side of the motor. It converted it to a cross-flow motor. We had the carburetors on one side and the exhaust on the other. So now they had more room for ports and things like that. So they actually got pretty decent horsepower out of a little MG block.
Newer ones. Have you seen those?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah. Pretty wild looking. What's his face? John Travolta drove a TVR in that movie Swordfish.
Okay.
That's what the car was he drove. And he liked the car so much at the end of the movie, he took it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess with that celebrity status,
I don't know. In the TVR world, it says he took it, but we all know that meant at the end of the movie he got the car.
Okay.
That was the deal.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still like you. I like the older
ones. What?
I like the older TVRs. The newer ones are just like the Tasman and so forth. That the lines are just a little too sharp, and the old ones are just much more classy looking.
The new ones, it's almost like they try to be too outrageous.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the speed with the TVR. That car on the racetrack has about 165 horsepower. Doesn't sound like a great deal. Car weighs 1,400 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's actually a 1,400-pound car. That's a pretty fair amount of power.
Yeah, horsepower to weight ratio. You're equivalent to a Corvette.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like a modern Corvette horsepower to weight ratio, and it just shocks people how that thing moves.
Yeah, and the handling was always good, fully adjustable with that independent front and rear suspension. So you can tailor that thing to whatever your driving style was.
I had there's a shop, and as a matter of fact, in Randy's neighborhood over here, Vintage Racing Motors, and very well-known vintage race car shop. They work on some of the top cars in the country. I've had my TVR in there a couple times now, and they've done they have a dyno, and they did all my dyno tuning on my motors, and they also did all my suspension setup. And they're very experienced guys at racing cars and setting them up. And I got to tell you what, it sure paid off. The car drove so much better after I had someone that really knew what they were doing versus me doing the suspension setup.
Yeah. All right, so you got the TVR. You started road racing with the TVR, or did you drive something before that to get wet in the sport?
Well, what got me started with the whole idea of racing it was I bought in the early 90s a 67 Shelby GT350. And it just so happened to have been a Paxton supercharged car.
Oh.
Now, I've never researched it to find out if it originally was a Paxton supercharged car or not. I don't really care. And, I'm not selling it, so it doesn't matter to me. But anyways, I went ahead and gave that car to a company in the San Fernando Valley, Mako Motorsports, not like Mako Auto Painting. Mako, Michael A. Eisenberg company. And he built the fastest vintage race Trans Am cars in the country. So I gave him my 67 Shelby with the intent of turning it into an open track sleeper. So now I have the 67 Shelby. I still have it. It's got a 331 cubic inch stroker in it, 5-speed gearbox. It's all set up like a Trans Am car underneath. Like they set up Trans Am cars back in the 60s. So it's pretty interesting. The car will run with me driving it, realize, not somebody who knows what they're doing, but me. I could run 135s, 134s, high 134s at Willow Springs in it, which is moving along pretty good for a vintage car. But that was really, so what I did is I built this thing for doing open tracks with the Shelby Club. So I would run it up at Willow Springs. We'd go to every year there was an event called SAC Does Vegas, where the Shelby American Automobile Club would go to Vegas, and we'd hang out with Carol Shelby, and then we'd go run at the Vegas Raceway. We'd run there. So I had run it at a bunch of different places, and I had always thought I would never get into racing. Well, I loved it, being on the track. I just loved it. But the thought of racing the Shelby was a little overwhelming to me because of the cost and the value of the car. And I'm not a rich enough guy to be able to, I punted my Shelby off the track and turned it into trash. Oh, well,
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. So I bought this little TVR.
Now you're in Idaho.
Yep.
Where do you race?
I come over here and race in Washington at Pacific Raceways. There's a track in Portland. We've raced there. We've raced in Olympia. There's a new track in Olympia called the Ridge, which is really very nice. I've raced at Monterey since I've been up here, and I've also raced at Sonoma since I've been up here.
So as long as we're on the subject of racing and we're on the subject of the TVR, let's talk about the TVR incident.
Okay. Well, as it turned out, I was supposed to be in France in May with the TVR to run it at the 100th anniversary at Le Mans. And because of some personal commitments, it turned out I was not able to do it. So my personal commitments ended at the end of June, and I signed my car up for an event with a club called Sovereign at Pacific Raceways for the 4th of July weekend. So we got through Saturday morning practice, and that was all great. And we get out there on the track in our first time session, and I think I was set probably 4th or 5th in the field of about 30 cars. And the cars that were in front of me are legit race cars, like Lotus 23s or Elvas, stuff like that. And they're a bit faster than us for sure, the rest of the field. But I'm probably the second fastest production-based car out there. So the race gets started, and one of the people that's in it's a guy in Austin Healy, who I know, Doug, nice fella. And we get going, and I get around a bunch of people at the start, and I got Doug behind me. We get up into headed into what they call the front straight. It's really not a straight. It's really got a couple of kinks in it. And Doug's approaching. He's coming up on me. He has more power than I do, and he's starting to catch me. And he starts to catch me in the first kink. Well, I move to the left in the first kink to give him, both of us, enough room to get through it. As, vintage road racing, we shake hands, we hug each other. It's not like blood. So I give him enough room to get through there. And as I do that, I put my left front tire off the edge of the track. Put my left front tire off the edge of the track, and it turns out there's a little hole right there, which launches the front end of my car into the air. And I now have no directional control, and the car starts to rotate.
Oh.
So the car rotates, and there's a wall to my left. Okay. The call wrote, Bob, your face is just classic, your look. Thank you. I appreciate your pain. So the car rotates, and it takes off the right rear corner. The car's fiberglass, which takes the right rear corner off. Continues to rotate, and now I'm sliding across the track towards the wall on the other side. Now I slam into the wall on the other side. So I took off of my my beautiful little TVR that had never been involved in a serious accident. It had been a race car for years and years and years. And I basically trashed the frame and did a ton of body damage to it. I didn't think I was ever going to race the car again, because the cost to repair the car is huge. The frame is all steel tubing. Between all of the steel tubes and all the little plates and pieces, there's 132 pieces in the chassis. So the cost of having it all rebuilt is significant.
Yeah.
And most of the craftsmen that do that are in England. So you have all of the transportation costs and so forth. Fella by the name of Mike Zappa Racing out of Ohio, called me. We talked a couple of weeks ago, and Mike turned me on to somebody who's going to build me a new chassis. Ooh. And so we're going to get the TVR back out on the track. and we're going to see it again. And I'm pretty excited about that because in vintage racing, I was kind of like everybody knew, oh, that's the TVR guy. So I was the only one
That's
racing the TVR.
Yeah.
so you get a new chassis, body panels, are they still available?
The body panels, the TVRs are being actively raced in Europe a lot. And
Right.
there's three companies in Europe that are building today modern versions of my car that are FIA legal to race.
Oh,
So every piece on my car I can buy.
Does it
great.
matter because it's a 62? Do you want to stay true to that body style, or does it really matter by the time you're done?
No, we'll stay perfectly true to the car's appearance.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, it's really not the track condition. It's my fault. I'm the one. I put my wheel off the pavement. You know, that's the bottom line. And it was pretty painful, I have to tell you, both physically, as I ended up in the hospital,
Hmm.
and just the emotional side of it, because I've been racing the car for 15 years and had never damaged it. Or, you know, even longer than that now. You know, I never damaged it. So it was kind of it was rough. Because when
Fair
I
enough.
crashed it here in Seattle. So they kept
Okay.
the car for me because I went to the hospital. And fortunately not seriously injured, but I had 5 rib fractures.
Ooh.
Sounds pretty serious to
Took me a little
me.
while to heal, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't heal as fast as I used to either.
Yes.
But you know, I was okay. But so the car's there, and we're going to crate it. It's already sitting on a dolly, and we're going to send it to Pennsylvania. And he's going to take the damaged body off the damaged chassis, build a new chassis, put the damaged body on the new chassis, and then we'll start on the body work.
Hmm.
Okay.
You have the body sitting squarely on a good straight chassis. Because realize the body is like a giant potato chip. It's not very rigid.
No.
Without the full steel structure underneath it, there's nothing you're going to do to it.
Uh,
You know, the TVR, I didn't have a full cage in it, I have a partial cage in it.
yeah.
But you know, it really handled the crash surprisingly well because all those little pieces of steel tubing just folded up and ate it all up.
Hmm.
Passenger compartment was not, you know, and realize I was going down the straight, wound out. I'm at about 124, 125 miles an hour when all this went wrong.
Hmm.
So I'm going at a pretty good clip.
Mhm.
But the passenger compartment, no deformation of the passenger compartment at all.
Well, the other situation too is being light in weight, even though you're careening into something, you haven't got the weight to
Right,
keep damaging things. A
right.
lighter car, it's like someone asked me one time, why do small cars have less insurance costs than big cars? Well, because they bounce off things. They
Yeah.
haven't got the weight to follow them through. So when you get into an accident, they don't tend to have as much damage because you haven't got that weight inertia moving you in.
It's you're definitely true. And there's a video, somebody had recorded a video of this whole thing happening. And you know, it happened where the Austin Healey 3000 was literally right next to me when I lost it. And I spin and go behind the Austin Healey and never touch him. And the next group of cars coming up, because there's another group of cars that are a little while back. Me and the Healey have now put some space between the rest of the field. But they're a couple hundred yards back, and there's a video of me spinning and behind the Healey and slamming into the wall.
Ooh,
Wow.
harrowing. Yeah, that's yeah. I the closest I've gotten to that was go kart racing, finding hay bales the hard
Yeah,
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
But I was lucky enough. I've never crashed a car in competition, which
And my wife was at the track at the time. It definitely
oh,
freaked her out when it happened. So now I've come to a rest, and I'm sitting in the middle of the track. And the first thing I do is I go, "Oh crap," and just kind of like clear my head for a second. And then I go, "Okay, I can move my fingers. I can move my toes. My knees work. I can feel my shoulders and everything. It hurts to move, but everything seems okay. Get me the hell out of here." Because I was afraid you know, I have a fire system in the car, but I was afraid it was going to catch fire or another car was going to hit me or
yeah.
whatever. You know, it was just get me out of here. And you know, the emergency crews had everything flagged down instantly.
Mhm.
So I was safe and had me out of the car in no time. My
Good.
wife started to freak because she saw the ambulance pull and didn't pull out and didn't see me. And I'd always told her to race, if you don't see me come around, don't worry unless you see the ambulance roll. If you don't see me come around and you see a tow truck go out, it's no big deal. But if you see the ambulance roll, then there's maybe a problem.
Mhm.
So she sees the ambulance roll and she immediately starts asking people what happened, what happened, what happened. And, they're telling her they don't know she's that this is the wife of the driver. So she says, well, did they get out of the car? She goes, yeah, whoever was the driver's up out of the car and standing next to it. That, of course, let her relax.
That helps. Yeah. All right. Now we're talking about the negative side of racing. And this is something that it happens.
Right.
It's a part of racing. There's no getting around that.
Yeah.
Someone is listening to us and says, wow, even though you had that accident, this sounds like fun or interesting. How do you get involved in road racing?
Well, it depends what you want to do. If you want to race something like SCCA, Sports Car Club of America, they hold amateur events all over the country, both active road races and solo stuff, which is where you're racing in a parking lot around cones against the clock. So there's lots of stuff to do there. I got into vintage auto racing because I like the old cars. And there's a bunch of vintage auto racing clubs throughout the United States. The biggest one is a club called SVRA, Sports Car Vintage Racing Association. They're the largest. And I've raced with them. And I've also, up here in the Pacific Northwest, I usually race with an organization called Sovereign, which is a society of vintage racing enthusiasts. So, you can just look up vintage racing on the computer and Google it, and there's clubs everywhere.
That'll also give you the parameters of what cars are accepted as well.
Right. And what I did is I started racing originally with a group in Southern California, VARA, Vintage Auto Racing Association, which is a great club, really a great club. And so, I went to watch a couple of their events. I figured out what kind of car I wanted to buy and what class I wanted to run in. And then I, bought a car that would fit in that group. And how I picked that group, I knew somebody in that group already, so that made it a little easier. And I knew of people who were racing in other parts too that were also Shelby Club members, but I didn't want to race in a Shelby. That wasn't going to happen.
Did you ever race it?
No, I've never. I've run it in probably 20 open track events. We've had it at California Speedway. We've had it all kinds of places. We've radar gunned it at 162 miles an hour.
Wow.
And which is pretty good for a 67 Mustang product,
Yeah.
It took a lot of duct tape to get it that fast, I can tell you.
By the way, I have to throw this in because I know she's going to hear us talking about it. But of course, my wife, Marta, his sister, one day we had it up at, what did we have? We had it up at
at Willow Springs.
Willow Springs.
For there was an open track, a charity event for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation.
Yeah, something happened there. And so Marta, Hal goes to Marta, do you want to ride in it? And she kind of said, nah, it's all right. It's no big deal. And then, of course, being a brother, he said something along the line of, what are you, chicken? And the next thing I know, Marta's searching for a helmet. And she went in there, and you did over 120 miles an hour.
Oh yeah. I gave her a couple of pretty thrilling laps around Willow Springs. She was screaming pretty good and really. The car has full harnesses in it.
Yeah.
So we had her all tied in there pretty tight. But, she definitely let out a few shrieks.
Yep. So let's hear it from Marta. She got not behind the wheel, but she got behind in the passenger seat and went for a ride. And some interesting stories, and of course, great tales of being behind the wheel on racetracks. And again, if he isn't popular now, if people don't know who he is now, Hal Monheim will be known by everybody once he gets a chance to listen to his great stories. And of course, the opportunity to be on the road. So don't forget to watch us on social media. So until next time, stand out on the road, drive an unusual car. Come on, that's kind of what we do. So long, everybody. We'll see you later.